At,
Sorry, I just started recording. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Amy. I'm sorry about that.
so the plan, as I have heard it, is that once students are either vaccinated or have been or not been given an exemption, they will have a status somewhere in ctcLink that doesn't say their vaccination status, but says whether they are authorized to be an on-campus student or an off-campus student.
Mhm.
Is that a field, do you think, that we would be able to somehow include in the load and bring into Alma? Or does it depend on how they do it?
I would guess it's possible, yeah. The question is, okay, where would we want to put that in Alma? Would that be a group thing or a notes thing?
Okay.
If you want to get that conversation started, Amy, email Adam and include me and just ask that question. If we want to include the vaccination status info or whatever it's called at Olympic, is that info available in DataLink?
Okay.
Or just, would it be available for use in the Alma patron load?
And I'm not sure they've decided exactly where that's going to go in ctcLink, but yes, I will at some point, although he would be an interesting person to involve in that conversation, but I'll do that.
On that, yeah. One of the patron load things we had yesterday was with Green River and Jennifer, or if Nadine is on the call, it came up that it sounded like Green River has something similar, like they're tracking something similar in the HP system already. Do you know, Jennifer?
You mean as far as vaccination status?
Yeah, or I think it was like Amy said. I think what Nadine said was it was more like, it's set, and Nadine didn't say this specifically, that it was let's see, she said
Well, the problem that we're having is about loading certain students. She has noticed that some students, seeming to be ELL students, were not loaded into Alma. So that's what we're still trying to work through, is what the problem is.
Yeah, and what is ELL?
We had that issue before we moved to ctcLink.
Did you? Okay, ELL is English Language Learners, ESOL. I don't know. I mean, we always update the patron expiration loads, or the expiration of purge dates. But as you said, those jobs don't necessarily pertain to loading students. These students were just simply not loaded into Alma, and that's what we're trying to figure out what the problem is.
Yeah, and that's a case where they may not be. ELL is what, English language something? English
language learners.
Yeah, okay, so they may, they're in some kind of one-off user type that's not student and is not employee. There may be like an employee type code or a student type code there
I think when we had that problem at Olympic, it was related to them not paying a certain fee that other students pay. And so that didn't automatically give them a campus account. And at the time when before we went to ctcLink, we were basing accounts off of, I can't remember the details now, but it had something to do with them not paying a certain fee, which didn't allow them a certain type of account.
Well, that's interesting.
Mistakenly, like it shouldn't have been that way.
Okay, and that's interesting because Leslie's saying in the chat that they have seen that too, and yet this has not been a problem for us in previous quarters, at least that I know of, right? We've always, our ELL students walk into the library and they're there in Alma, so I'm not necessarily sure what's going on now unless something is being coded differently, and that's what we're trying to untangle.
Yeah, well, it looked like also, Jennifer, they just updated the quarter code yesterday at Green River in the student load. So I don't know if you checked today to see if those students are at Alma.
I'm waiting to hear back from Nadine to see if that's the case. But you were saying the way that those jobs did not affect loading of students. It only affected changing the purge and expiration dates. And we're having a problem with load.
Well, I mean, for students, it affects who gets loaded because it's only going to load students registered for the quarter that the code is set for. So
Okay.
if those, and I could see that ELL students might turn over every quarter, if they weren't there, maybe the program was only 1 quarter long, so they weren't in the summer quarter, and that's has been being loaded until they changed the code yesterday. So
yeah,
that's what I meant. But yeah, here Nadine referred to one of the students as an open door student. So that sounds kind of like what Amy might have been referring to, like that somehow they're coded that they can be on campus. And that's the kind of thing that will be not possible to address in the old HP user loads, but with the ctcLink loads that should be addressable if there's a way you want to handle that in Alma.
okay.
And that would kind of be like, I mean, it would be, it's sort of like, it's always a how much work versus how much benefit kind of decision, but to be able to get and I don't know if this is possible, I'd have to look, but if you can add a patron alert to the user record as it loads, say from ctcLink, there could be a patron note that if they are not an open door student, there's an alert that pops up at the cert desk when they check something out. So at least you know that person's not supposed to be there, kind of thing. That would be the use case for that, having that info. And you could also, if it was just in the notes field, you could see that. And there would be, if that info is in data link, we could get it in the patron record somehow. It would be neat to have it as an alert or a pop-up alert, just because then you wouldn't have to. But it might be handy if at use case, you see somebody walking in the door, you know who they are, but you're not sure they're open door. It would be, I don't know. It's but yeah, and it does seem like that, it's not just, that's not an Olympic only thing. It sounds like that there might be something similar happening at Green River, though it may not be happening in the HP system. There may be, I don't know. Anyways, well, let's move on. I wanted to briefly look at the Alma release notes for October. There were a couple of let's see, and that's coming on. And I'm just, since I'm inside of the Wenatchee Alma. Oh, and let's do something real quick. I actually didn't get to what I actually logged into Wenatchee's environment for the that's not where I want to go. Monitor jobs, just as where I started the call, just doing a quick reality check on your patron loads at the start of the quarter. You can go into monitor jobs history and look at the user loads, and we can see for their user loads for students and employees. This morning we see completed with errors, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because although in this case it looks like there wasn't, maybe not a file to load. Yeah, okay, so the employees loaded, in this case, if you look at the details on the report, like I just did, look at the report for this guy, you can get some summary stuff. Records processed is not the number of user records, that's just the number of Alma data blocks. The total users processed is the number of user records that are in the load. There were 30 users rejected, 11 were updated successfully, a bunch were unchanged. The rejected, we can look at this to see why they were rejected. And most of these are missing an email address, so that's why those were rejected. And then the students, let's see. Yeah, so the students is the one we were tweaking the code for, and one actually is on ctcLink already. So there's, I'll have to check. What I think what happened here is something that didn't get addressed yet is there were, for whatever reason, for 3 users, there were like corrupted characters in name fields for those 3 users coming out of ctcLink for whatever reason. So they didn't get parsed. Or Alma wouldn't parse those files because because there were those few broken characters, just the file looked bad to Alma, so it didn't load it. And I was able to identify which 3 users in that load were aired out. I think they probably just didn't have time to go into ctcLink and redo those user records yet. So anyways, that's a quick look at where you can just do a reality check on, like, especially at the beginning of quarter, what's happened. I mean, and you can even look in the same way you can look at these, take a look at some user that was updated. These are the users that were actually updated, and then you can, go look at it if you wanted to go look at one of the users. Generally to check, and maybe some of you do this kind of thing already, but generally, if somebody reports like, access issues or anything, and I want to check expiration, the expiration dates in the institution's Alma, I'll just do a quick user search for something like Smith or Jones, and I generally get enough users that, just in the brief results of a user search, and I won't do it because it'll show usernames and ID numbers. But I would just search for Smith. I get a list of users, and I could see, there should be at least a couple that are current, and I can see what the latest expiration date is and kind of get a quick, since expiration date, if somebody reports something like they can't log in or they can't check something out, that's usually the first thing to check. So that's a way to just check to make sure that's my quick way of checking that a patron load is, or how a patron load is currently setting the expiration date. So anyways, so Alma October release, if we look in here, we can see that it's October 3rd, so that's in about a week and a half. And then as far as release notes go, what is it? There were just a couple things that I thought were worth pointing out. Release notes. Yeah, this one, sending emails to multiple recipients via CC email accounts. You can now assign multiple CC email addresses to a patron. Emails to the patron will be sent to all the CC addresses in addition to the preferred address. So that's kind of, kind of interesting if you have a patron that just continually claims that they're not getting their emails. And one thing you can do is add starting in with the October release, add a CC address to the patron record as an additional email address that they get sent the information or the notice or whatever you're emailing them. So mildly interesting. I guess since we were talking about patron loads, there's probably an opportunity there to actually load CC addresses as a patron load, but I don't think, that I don't think you'd want to do that just because you wouldn't want to start just, as a blanket policy, having CC addresses for everyone and everybody getting, having, as a patron, I wouldn't want that. So that's, but it is kind of, on an individual basis. Oh, I'm not getting email from the campus server for whatever reason. You could set them up with a CC email address and they'd say, oh, see if you get it at that address. Oh yeah, for those, I think we've got a couple libraries now, Skagit and Spokane, that are using the requester workflow, and the requester note will be added in the purchase request brief display. So that will be for those that are using that. That will be handy. I think that sounds kind of like an ideas exchange kind of thing, where somebody says, "Gee, I wish I could see the requester note on that page." This will be nice. Alma announcements will be available in Alma, kind of as an additional icon in the top menu bar. So that's kind of just a quick way to, rather than worry about reading emails from Ex Libris Switches House, and all that stuff comes out just when you have a second, kind of like I just did with looking at release note or release date, the release schedule calendar inside of Alma. It's nice to have those things handy. Oh yeah, the old metadata editor is finally being taken out in the October release. So that's something to be aware of. I think everybody's transitioned to the new metadata. The new one now, I don't know if I'm not aware of anything left in the old metadata editor that you can't do in the new one. And this was originally going to happen in the spring, so and they've been holding it off just because people have been raising flags about, oh, we can't do this yet, or it doesn't work as well. But it looks like this is a new end of life thing. We'll see if anybody pops up last minute out in the community that changes that plan. And kind of, oh yes, accessibility improvements of various types and various things. That's I'm focusing on things that I know we use or would potentially use, rather than features and product areas that we're not really active in. Yeah, so that's the release notes there. And then there's also the complement to that is Primo release notes. and these I haven't looked at as closely. Yeah, that's some new language support. Oh yeah, this one looks interesting and maybe a bit dangerous. Customization of dedupe and Ferber complete keys. I didn't deep dive into this, but this again seems, you know, useful / dangerous because you're really, you know, having an impact on how dedupe and the Ferber algorithms work, and we may find scenarios where this is useful. Again, I didn't do a deep dive in this yet, so I don't know at what granularity this can be done was the main question in my head about what's the downside of doing this if you have specific titles where dedupe doesn't work as well as it could, or particular material types, but these rules are global, then you have a lot of considerations on when to do that. And this one looks interesting too. I'm not sure what it actually means yet. I kind of read the documentation on this, and there wasn't enough specificity yet about being able on a title by title basis to specify another institution that may have it. And you know, the use case here would be you have something that you want to make available to a nearby institution like BTC, Bellingham Technical, and Whatcom Community College. Could, you know, there's a specific title or resource or something that you want to somehow cross-pollinate, you could, or just point out that somebody has something at another institution that you can do this. And in the documentation, I didn't see so far how you indicate like the, I assume you'll be able to do this via, or be able to point to another Alma instance in the cloud, so that you could, you know, Whatcom could point to BTC's instance and vice versa. And again, this is on a title by title basis. So you actually have to edit the MARC record to do this. And it's just for title by title. Those are the October Primo releases. And we can certainly talk about any of the Alma or Primo stuff, and we'll be on those shortly. You can take a closer look at some of those features. I wanted to see if, and while you guys are thinking about that, another thing that a little back and forth on the list yesterday about the Gale ebook titles, and thanks to Kirsty posted, I think it was last week, some info from a conversation she had with somebody at Gale about the WSL program and links to the new website. And I actually did, just FYI, on the consortium site now, I added that info. If you go to the documentation page and go to the Gale WSL contract info, I put Kirsty's info down here, so it's recorded for posterity, so you don't have to dig up an email address. But Kirsty, I don't know if there's any. There's a link to the permanent package. You noted that you may have more access to more stuff than that was listed on the initial page, or on the invoice, I guess. All right, yeah, you can look at this. You can look at this site and do a search by your institution to see, what things you actually have access to, like definitively, and then which wasn't clear at the beginning of the process. We tried to crowdsource what that information was and the activations you could do, but
Kirsty, were you talking about all those Gale one file, like we have criminal justice, culinary arts, diversity studies? Are you talking about all those little pieces?
Yeah.
I just assumed that those are similar to our EBSCO databases. Some of our EBSCO databases, those are just all rolled into the big one file, and those are just like kind of like little breakout collections that are already included in the bigger one. Is that not your impression?
I mean, I think you're right in that they're breakout collections. I looked at the community zone and I don't remember seeing like one community zone collection for Gale one file, but maybe I missed it.
I feel like I activated something I didn't activate any of those little PC ones. We just are keeping those links as something to use like in our libguides for those
or
subject
or maybe,
areas.
Yeah, maybe it's the Gale general one file that like, is that one? Gale general one file, is that like the all-encompassing one? I don't know, because I haven't done any.
Yeah, Kirsty, I mean, just a reminder, at the time that the program was initiated, right at the beginning of the fiscal year, I mean, Gale Academic One file is on the contract. That happened to coincide with an accidental deletion of the Gale Academic One file CZ collection on the Ex Libris side. So there was a period of time where, you're right, Kirsty, Gale Academic One file was not in the CZ.
It's back though, and it has 9,129 portfolios in it.
Yeah. So, and then I don't know if you guys were watching while Amy was talking, but I went to this site, the site that Kirsty linked, the more permanent site, support.gale.com/WSL. Just did a quick search, Olympic College, and it shows you. And I don't know if this is the same for everyone that's subscribed, or Kirsty, does this list show you all of your Gale stuff, like both WSL stuff and maybe stuff that you don't get through WSL but get?
I don't know.
The only other thing we had from Gale before this was a Gale Virtual Reference Library, which is now Gale eBooks, which you see there at the bottom of the list. And basically they added like a lot of crap to the stuff we had purchased, which Christy also talked about too.
Yeah.
So I don't know, because we didn't have anything besides
Yeah, I
that
got
from
you.
Gale.
Is anybody on the call? Did anybody on the call have previous Gale stuff that's not in the WSL? We could take a quick look. I'm just wondering, is this list the same for everyone, or will this also include your the stuff that you have directly with Gale?
I think Skagit had, oh God, I think it's like the opposing viewpoints, which I don't think was part of that package.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Where it's part of an add-on package. Like there was an add-on bundle that you could buy that included opposing viewpoints and I think Gale in context US history.
Yeah, and we had one of the in context business ones, I think, that wasn't part of this.
Yeah.
We have at Spokane opposing viewpoints and Gale Literature Resource Center, and it is not on my list on that page.
Oh, okay. So this will be just your WSL stuff. Thanks, Melinda. Yeah. And so this list is definitely longer than the info we were crowdsourcing earlier in the fiscal year. So
This is the list I was given originally from Gale. Like it's the same list I got. So I was surprised to hear that other people didn't get a big long list like this originally.
Yeah, or maybe, I wouldn't have got one. So maybe you guys all did, and I was just going by maybe this, whatever was on the initial. And I
Well,
guess,
I'm curious what people are doing in their A to Z list, because I only activated like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 of these, like kind of the big ones that I didn't list in our A to Z list any of those breakout collections, because I just figured, and I let our staff know about them as far as like making subject guides, but I didn't really want to do a dump of like 30 more databases into our A to Z list if they weren't all unique content. I'm trying to just keep unique content for the most part in my A to Z list.
So just a quick question. If the Gale 1 file, I guess there's a general one, is that something that then includes all of these and we don't have to activate them as A to Z on our A to Z page individually?
That's
what we
my
don't know.
assumption.
Okay, the other question that I had is, I saw on the other page, Wade, that you had activations in the community zone. And I was just curious, do I need to activate all of these individual collections, or do I just need to activate like the one Gale 1 file general or whatever that was?
I can't answer that question. Yeah, I mean, basically the question about, is there overlap in these collections? I don't know. I suspect there's some overlap, but it's probably not exact, like, otherwise, it seems like if you're buying something called Gale 1 file computer science, there's probably a subset of computer science content in one academic 1 file, but then you get extras here or broader date ranges for particular journals. But that's, I don't know the answer to that.
All right, thank you. I have another meeting. I've got to go.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I know we're getting close to the hour, but yeah, and yeah, and if anybody happens to have already done any looking into overlap of those collections, speak up or share that info on our list. I may take a look at the Gale website just to see what they say about collection overlap. I assume there's some reason they sell all those separate collections, that there must be something.
Well, I can't speak to the Gale ones about the crossover, but I know we have the big EBSCO package, and I'm trying to think what the names are. Our rep told us, like, our unique content is only in academic search complete and business source, like the complete or the, we do the complete ones, or the premier, but the ones that say source, like computer source and like vocational and career source or whatever, those are not unique content. Those are just subsets of the bigger databases. And so I assumed that Gale was the same, but I'm making an assumption. I don't know for sure.
E-resources, man. E-resources.
Vendors got to make a buck, right? What? So, all right, well, we're at
repackaged content thing made me a little leery that Gale was giving us as much as they try to make it look like they're giving us as far as unique content.
Yeah, well, I'll see if I can dig up on the Gale website any general info about overlap. I mean, and I might do a litmus test, and I did this. I just can't remember the results of comparing one Gale collection to another via the Alma overlap tool, just to see like if that would be a way to see. And maybe I can. Yeah, I'll take a look at how easy or how hard that would be to get a more complete. It would be easy to do it for just like academic one file and computer, whatever, Gale, computer, whatever, just to see how much overlap there is in those two. I suspect it's probably somewhat high, but not 100%. Just a guess. All right, well, we're at the hour now, so we can go ahead and conclude this one, I think. Thanks for participating, everyone. And I did manage to record about half the meeting. Sorry for not, because we did have decent attendance today, start of fall and all that. So, look forward to talking to you, some of you on Thursday, I'm sure at 10, same time, same link. Anyways, I hope you have a good rest of your Tuesday, and we will talk to you soon. What's up, girl? Think we can pee now? Come on, girl. Whoa, come here. Come here. Hup, hup. Can you jump this side? Hup. You can do it. Hup. Okay, let's go outside and eat. Come on.